And then she says, my question is two parts. How can you be in the space of finding and not in the space of looking or seeking? How can you be in the allowing? And then she says, I'm clear that the divine is my source. But when it takes a long time to manifest our desires, how does one stay in trust and faith? So I just want to take a few moments and try to address this, because I think, like I say, it captures some of what I'm trying to do here. This part, we'll go through it, but this part that says, when it takes a long time to manifest our desires, how does one stay in trust and faith? Now, this is not a criticism, but this is exactly why I'm not a manifester by identity on any level, because what I found is that there's a completely different alchemy that happens when it's not my desires and how do I get them and how long are you going to make me wait and what are the tricks I can do to get them faster. Again, not a criticism. It's completely the focus of how this is often taught, this idea of manifestation is often taught. However, there really is a completely different way. And it starts with not ignoring the desires, not on any level having, oh, they're bad, you should just be a stoic monk and not crave anything. I mean, we're in human bodies, and the nature, as far as I can tell, of being human is very paradoxical, because there's a desire nature that's part of it that doesn't work too well when it's just ignored or tried to be erased. But something very different happens when the desires are offered. That's why genuine offering is such a powerful tool, because you take the longing, whatever it is. Maybe it's a longing for a partner. Maybe it's a longing for work in the world where your talents are used. I mean, who knows? It could be anything. Maybe it's a longing for democracy, like I have been dealing with since December. And what I do over and over is keep offering it back, because you let yourself feel it. This is very apropos to talk about today, since we're going to go into other kinds of feelings as well. It's never about denying it, but you let yourself feel it, and you really feel it. I mean, you whatever it is, you feel it. Sometimes you feel it so much that you just feel like you could cry for days about how much you want something. But then after you allow the feeling, you do what we were doing yesterday, where you take whatever that is and you are really bequeathing it to divine love. And doesn't mean you don't feel it anymore, but the burden of it is now cast. And what that does, you know, this whole thing is very interesting to me. Uh, I've the idea, how can I put this? Once you've cast the burden, then you know it's a desire, but the process has now begun of really saying to divine love, help me feel whole with or without this. That's the process that really works. And that's when I was talking yesterday about how spaciousness gets created from this kind of work. That's on a tangible level. It's ironically the space that often lets the manifestation happen. You know, it starts to remove the grasping and the sense of, oh, if I don't have this, my life is bereft or empty or whatever. You're now saying, let me feel whole with or without this. I'm casting the burden of it to you. Now, it's not one and done. There's some things in my life I've cast 100 times, and you almost develop a sense of humor about it, but you're no longer in the prison cell with it. You start to have that experience that you're something multidimensional and spacious and paradoxical and free, who also has desires, rather than I'm just this person watching the clock to see how much longer it's going to be before I get this thing that belongs to me. And that's why we ended yesterday's call with this idea about leaving the prison of my. So even saying the desire as opposed to my desire starts to create that spaciousness, just like we were saying about illness, or, any way that this false identity is getting uh, attached to these transitory things starts to constrict the person. And, sometimes I think, because I had such a crazy karma of doing all those thousands of readings, sometimes I look and I think, why was I meant to do that for so many years? And sometimes I think it's because I saw like every spectrum of humanity, and I saw a number of people that had every wish in their life times 100, like more money than God, everything that, relationships, like everything that so many people, they'd come to me and they would say, it's crazy because I'm the focus of so much jealousy, and yet I don't feel content. So that's the irony. All these people want my life, but I don't feel full and content from having all those wishes. Because that is, the Buddhists really got that part figured out. So all I'm saying is, I knew this isn't to speak ill of getting, I love a wish fulfilled more, as much as anybody. But you know what I'm saying? It's like when it's held lightly, or when there's a feeling that you are more than the fulfillment of that, or that you are whole with or without it, that's when the freedom starts to come in. And ironically, that's often when the thing actually hatches. Because the other piece of this that I have always found really interesting, and I think a lot of people find my work who have had this experience too. Many years ago, I do think conventional manifesting definitely works for some people. But when I tried to do it, I don't know, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, it never worked. And it, when I was just like, here's my desire, I'm putting my order into the universe, blah, blah, blah. And I would literally feel like God was laughing, saying, you are an ancient soul. You're here to learn how to align with something greater than your ego. And the way you're going to learn how to align with that is by having almost none of your wishes granted until you actually learn to align with something greater than the ego's shopping list. So that was really my own route. And then to my surprise, as I started to talk about that years ago, so many people wrote in, after OO, and said, oh my God, that's the story of my life. Maybe there are a lot of old souls that can't manifest in a conventional way because the universe actually wants you to learn how to align with love and let it take over, not just with an agenda. So having said all that, everybody has a different route. And I figure, since this lovely woman is here, I would say, like when you say, when it takes a long time to manifest our desires, how do you stay in trust and faith? I would say maybe start by casting the burden of those desires, whatever they are, not making them wrong, not making them bad, honoring them, blessing them, but casting the burden of them and really saying to this force of love, however you imagine it, they're yours now. Start the process of making me whole with or without them. And then you really can say, like, whatever actions I'm meant to take, guide me. And whoever's meant to help, bring them. And, like, to me, this isn't just static. As things are cast, you're really inviting the right actions. You're also inviting the right opportunities, but it's all coming from a place of serving the light as opposed to just, I placed my order, when is it going to come? Does that make sense? So, and if you haven't read Outrageous Openness, that book has a lot about this. So it would probably really help. And so I love this part at the beginning, when you say, how can you be in the space of finding, but not in the space of looking? And I would say again, like when someone says, I'm a seeker, I'm really seeking for God, I always think, God, that word never really made sense to me, because you'll be looking forever, because what you're looking for is inside. So you're like always seeking, always looking, always hunting. So I think the nature of this work keeps being focused on going deeper with the inner divine, who comes through the intuition, but also comes through everything and everyone in the quantum field. And that the deeper you go with that, it's kind of funny. There's a line from somebody, I can't remember who it's from, that says something like, as you release the attachment, or as you pray to release the attachment, because that's basically what we're talking about, the grasping. There's a word in Sanskrit that some of you probably know from the books, called aparigraha. And I don't know, maybe somebody can write it in the chat who knows it. But aparigraha means like opening the hands to release the grasp. And ironically, when a lot of this work is about aparigraha, where you like open the hands, and then the irony is you can't even receive when your hands are grasped. So you're open the hands in order to receive your freedom first, your freedom, like from walking out of the prison of the consciousness that way, but also, ironically, it often means you're receiving the fulfillment in the right time and the right way when it's ripe. So when you say, how can you be in the allowing comes out of offering and comes out of aparigraha. And it's just a process. Like there's no perfection to it, but it's all in Outrageous Openness, and also in It's Not Your Money. So I have a feeling that that may really help. And also that's what we do in the forum. Like that's kind of a practice that the forum is about. So thank you so much for sending that, because I think it actually really defines this. And then, like I was saying yesterday, then it's possible to be in that spaciousness and non-grasping and non-chasing, and yet visualize and feel up a storm, because then you're just enjoying, you're letting your cells enjoy experiencing that fulfillment, but without all of the, grasping.